It's 10 p.m. in Banjul, and from our studios on MDI Road, this is the news. First, the headlines. President Jammeh lays down his government's development plans in another landmark speech, marking the opening of the new legislative year. The Association of Gambian Female Artists receives $150,000 courtesy of the First Lady Zainab Jammeh. U.S. Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump holds talks with GOP leaders days after Mr. Trump broke a Republican national pledge he signed last year. Hans-Dietrich Genscher, Germany's former foreign minister and one of the key drivers of the unification of East and West Germany, dies aged 89. Well, viewers, those are your headlines. With me, WINFRED NICOL. Thanks for joining us once again. The President has once again laid down his government's development plans in a statement delivered to mark the state opening of the new legislative year 2016. The President's speech touched on a wide range of issues, including his plans for key sectors of government machinery. Our H.N. Silva was at the National Assembly chambers and he prepared this news report.
Enthusiastic banner-wielding supporters of the ruling APRC party in their indomitable spirits escorting His Excellency Sir Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya Jammeh Babili Mansa, President of the Islamic Republic of the Gambia, as his motorcade drove through the famous Independence Drive into the National Assembly complex where he presided over the state opening of the 2016 legislative year. The President's arrival at the legislative building added to the excitement. The reception accorded to him by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Abdoulaye Bojang, could not have been more befitting. A family photo capped off proceedings before the head of state proceeded to the Assembly chambers to deliver his hugely anticipated speech. The President's 2016 speech was a rich combination of past and present policy declarations, as well as a futuristic roadmap that will direct development in all sectors. The roadmap itself includes bills that should soon be tabled before Parliament for consideration. The President did not leave anything to chance, for he seized the moment to maintain his position in relation to making the Gambia an Islamic state, disclosing his administration's plan to table a piece of legislation before deputies to that effect. President Jammeh was nonetheless quick to reassure minority religions of their rights to live and worship as dictated by their faiths in a peaceful environment.
Let me hasten, however, to assure you that the declaration of an Islamic state does not mean that other religions will be suppressed, as there is no compulsion to religion as enshrined in the Holy Quran. For us Muslims, however, we will be governed by the laws based on the divine dispensation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's law, which is Sharia. This is the only country where you can walk anywhere in the streets and you will not be attacked because you are Christian, Hindu, Muslim, or whatever. In fact, the meaning of Islam, and I don't think the Christians would disagree with me, what Islam means, and Islamic State means, is that we will worship only the Almighty Allah and only the Almighty Allah. It doesn't mean that we will tell Christians not to go to church or whatever. It's not our business. But Muslims must behave like Muslims. And we expect all Gambians, irrespective of religion, to be Islamic. That is, you worship only one and only one God.
Looking back at the numerous achievements of the July 22nd revolution in the past 22 years, President Jammeh called on all and sundry to be inspired by the successes and aim higher. Professor Jammeh has made no secrets in his desire to provide accessible, affordable, quality and relevant education to the Gambian youth. During a meeting in Bundung last year, he announced plans to make university education free for Gambians and non-Gambians alike by 2018. That pledge was repeated at the National Assembly, where he lifted the lead on plans to construct a university campus in Faraba Bantang and build 500 madrasas and conventional schools.
I wish to inform you with deep sense of pride and satisfaction of the introduction of the school improvement grants at the senior secondary level with effect from September 2015, which will eventually enable all children to attend school without funding. I mean funding from their parents. My government will also continue to work strenuously towards making university education free in 2018 without fail, as well as fulfillment of our desire for free universal education for all our children.
With agriculture serving as a key to unlocking the country's economic potentials, President Jammeh insisted that his government position on food security remains the same, adding that focus will be more on innovative ways of food production to ensure maximum yields.
Therefore, just as we now have a national seed policy, the Minister of Agriculture shall, in 2016, table before the National Assembly the West African Livestock Innovation Center Bill for enactment into law. The center will serve as a center of excellence in research for development and innovation in the livestock sector that will benefit not only Gambian producers, but our brothers and sisters in the sub-region.
Infrastructural development is synonymous with the Jammeh administration, for the transport, works and infrastructure sectors have been moving in leaps and bounds. And from the look of things, one can safely say the masses can still expect some more life-changing critical infrastructural projects.
In 2016, construction of the long-awaited Laminkoto-Pasimas Road will begin, and if completed, the whole country on either side of the River Gambia would be connected by paved road network. The second phase of the Banjul International Airport Improvement Project would be completed. Through this project, the apron and taxiway are being upgraded and expanded in order to accommodate more and bigger aircraft.
Health also had its fair share of consideration, and according to the President, dozens of outreach clinics and primary health care centers will be constructed.
The Minister of Health and Social Welfare will in 2016 construct 30 new outreach clinics to minimize distance of travel to access health care, thereby scaling up the achievements made through the expansion of primary health care circuits from 83 to 123, and primary health care key villages from 696 to 838 in 2016.
Professor Jammeh stressed that national security will not be compromised, again stating his government's unwavering determination to continue upgrading the national security apparatus, citing its centrality to peace and stability that reigns in the country.
My government will continue to upgrade the capacity and provide equipment for the men and women of our national security outfits to strengthen the security of our dear country. Despite this effort, security agents cannot be present everywhere and every time. Therefore, I enjoin all Gambians and non-Gambians in this country to be security conscious and report violations of the law and any suspicious activity to the nearest security outfit.
The President spoke for more than 2 hours, devoting a good chunk of that time to foreign policy, essentially reiterating his principles of good neighborliness, non-interference, and respect for the sovereignty of every nation, irrespective of size or military might.
Our upholding of these principles relates to our firm and unshakable commitment to the values of justice, fair play, peace and security, as well as mutual respect for the identity, dignity and sovereignty of nations, regardless of racial and religious affiliation.
The president did not mince words when dilating on atrocities committed by Africa's colonizers. Jammeh vowed to pass a UN resolution on slavery and colonialism to reclaim the continent's dignity.
I wish to inform this assembly that my government will table a UN General Assembly resolution on slavery and colonialism to declare these barbaric chapters in human history as crimes against humanity, and for the nations that perpetrated these crimes to be obligated to reparations and unconditional apologies. My government has secured the endorsement of both the African Union and the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation.
President Jammeh vowed to stand up to any force of intimidation, mainly from the Western actors, who he accused of meddling in the internal affairs of independent African states, and sent an unambiguous message to the West, essentially calling for respect for the sovereignty and sovereign dignity of human beings, as well as an end to what he called double standards. The Gambian leader again stressed his unwavering stance on homosexuality and violence in the country, and restated his firm position on making the Gambia a no-go area for gays and lesbians. And in the lead-up to the December 1st presidential elections, he called on every Gambian to cooperate with the security and avoid being caught on the wrong side of the law. The president thanked the National Assembly members for collaborating with his administration and for their strong position in the fight against corruption. The president urged the lawmakers to keep the momentum alive and announced the setting up of a new anti-corruption commission to combat graft.
For corruption, there's no compromise. Backpack, thank you very much. Fighting corruption is the duty of every God-fearing person, because it's corruption and greed that is responsible for all what is going on today. Children dying in refugee camps.
By delivering the speech, President Jammeh has satisfied a constitutional requirement in line with the provision of Section 77, subsection 1 of the 1997 Constitution of the Gambia. Chen Silva, GRTS News.
The president's speech, which lasted hours, provided the Gambian leader the opportunity to spell out his government's strategic focus in steering the affairs of the state. Scouring through the 29-page document, President Jammeh also highlighted key priority areas of his government, including that of energy, tourism, and women empowerment. These sectors and others, he continued, will remain key drivers of his administration's development efforts in the coming years. Asian Silva again.
March 31st at the iconic National Assembly complex provided a perfect setting for the President, His Excellency Sir Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya Jammeh Babli Mansa, to upgrade the Gambians on his government's political, social, economic and legal agenda for the year 2016, the last in his fourth presidential mandate. The Gambian leader stated his commitment to maintaining a sound and buoyant economy by accelerating growth and creating more employment opportunities for Gambians through the page and other revolutionary programs, as well as plans to put in place new measures to improve the business environment.
The economy is anticipated to grow at 4.7%, inshallah, in 2016, compared to 0.9% in 2014. We continue to collaborate with the relevant stakeholders to assess the state of the economy on a regular basis and to implement financial and economic management systems that will facilitate business transactions and trade.
He also singled out the energy and petroleum sectors for their significant contributions to the achievement of national development objectives and disclosed interventions geared towards improving power supply, as well as promoting other forms of energy creation in 2016.
The government of the Gambia has enacted the Renewable Energy Law This laudable move, accomplished by the executive and legislative arm of government, provides incentives for both local and foreign investors to invest in the Gambia's energy sector. Mr. Speaker, in the petroleum sector, one of the license holders, African Petroleum, is in the process of preparing to drill this year, and another license holder, Kamak Energy, has completed a 3D survey and the data is being processed for interpretation.
Similar pronouncements were made in relation to tourism and culture, with Professor Jame announcing a short-term objective in increasing tourism arrivals to 200,000 in 2016 and 1 million in 2020.
The strategies put in place in pursuit of these objectives include product quality development in both culture and ecotourism, improvements in service standards, increase in hotel bed capacity, reinstitution of the Miss Gambia pageant, the National Cultural Troupe, along with institutionalizing excellence in the Arts Award.
The justice delivery system was not left out by the president, who disclosed plans to set up an anti-corruption commission in the not-too-distant future to combat graft, whilst promising to build additional courthouses in other parts of the country to offset the huge backlog of cases. The president's statement also beamed the spotlights on developments in the information, communication and infrastructure sectors. The process of drafting a National Information, Communication and Technology Bill is underway, and the piece of legislation is expected to be placed before legislators sometime this year. The aim is to ensure better coordination of ICT programs in the country. On the side of women empowerment front, the president has vowed to enforce the law that criminalizes female genital mutilation and do a lot more for the women folk.
To regulate such malpractices, 8 months old, you take even an adult, even a child 10 years old, you wake her in the middle of the night and take her to a bush. And you see old women with goofy dresses with a sharp knife, you will collapse, much more a baby. This is an evil practice, and I will nip it off the bud. But I need the judiciary to help me in enforcing the laws of this country. Imagine if it were your daughter, what would you do? It could happen to anybody's child, and the ban will be carried out to the letter, will be enforced to the letter, and the punishment will be enforced to the letter. The Gambia Songa initiative is also focused in catalyzing the drive towards national food self-sufficiency. Participants have cultivated a vast variety of food and cash crops for adoption by the farming community. Thus, Mr. Speaker, in the year 2016, the Minister of Youth would continue to mobilize resources for the implementation of the youth policy and strategy plan.
Sectors such as the environment and forestry were not overlooked by the president, for there are plans to further strengthen legislations to safeguard the environment and our forest cover. The president is no rabble-rouser, for despite the length of his speech, he kept his audience engaged throughout by the virtues of his presentation skills and eloquence that earned him a standing ovation, a well-deserved one for that matter. Echan Silva, GRTS News.
Her Excellency the First Lady, Madam Zainab Jame, Friday donated $150,000 to members of the National Female Artists Association, NAFA. The group, comprising female musicians, NAFA seeks to promote gender issues through music for the interests of female musicians in the Gambia. Momodu Njai has details in this report.
Display of her magnanimity and love for Gambian women, Her Excellency the First Lady of the Islamic Republic of the Gambia, Madam Zainab Jame, Friday donated the sum of $150,000 to the National Female Artists Association, NAFA. NAFA is an arts-based organization comprising female musicians of the Gambia, with an objective to promote gender issues through music for the interest of female musicians in the Gambia. The donation presented on behalf of the First Lady, Madam Zainab Jammeh, by the Honorable Minister for Basic and Secondary Education, Honorable Fatul Amin Fai, was presented and chaired by the Permanent Secretary, Office of the First Lady, Halimatu Tambodi Jawara. Present also were the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Office of the First Lady, Fatou Gassama, the Director of Creative and Performing Arts at the National Council for Arts and Culture, Sheikh Omar Jallo, and members of the National Female Artists Association, NAFA. The Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Honorable Fatul Amin Fai, paid glowing tribute to Her Excellency, the First Lady, Madam Zainab Jammeh, for her continuous support towards the advancement of Gambian women. She also hailed the efforts of His Excellency, the President, Sheikh Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya Ejeje Jammeh Babili Mansa, for creating the enabling environment for Gambian women to thrive.
For a very long time, His Excellency has given support to individual artists. Work hard and continue to pray for His Excellency, the President. It's because of their efforts that just yesterday we saw in the news that they've been giving another award for each of them, prestigious award by a women's group that is in the US. So for us that are here, maybe we are not seeing it or we are trying to be blind, but the outsiders are seeing it, and that is manifested in the number of awards that have been given to His Excellency the President and Her Excellency the First Lady. It's not for them alone, it's for the Gambia. And we are all proud of it.
Honorable Fai advised the association to maintain unity and advised them to do music that identifies Gambians.
I want you to make sure that you put these resources to good use. What we have said we are going to do is to help each other. Do your recording, do your marketing, and that way you can even make sure that your music is not plagiarized. There is a law already. I think you are the only ones that can help to enforce that, because some of you are in the committee or commission that has been established to make sure that copyright is protected, the copyright laws are implemented. So you have to work hard with that committee or commission to make sure that you safeguard what you do in your own industry. It's a very important industry.
I feel very honored and happy again to be part of this yet another development. I think this is a good step that the First Lady is doing, trying to assist you, the female artists, so as to be able to develop yourselves, and your music can really go into it. But our advice would be, make sure we identify and you stick to the kind of music that we are trying to promote for the Gambia's identity, so that we have a music that is identical to the Gambia.
Sesngam, an artist and member of NAFA, gave the vote of thanks on behalf of NAFA, promising to put the funds to good use as the group also prepares to embark on a self-sufficiency musical performance to enable them raise funds that can in turn be used to facilitate its institutional programs and activities.
We are extremely grateful to Her Excellency, the First Lady, for her love for the Gambia and Gambian women. Our enormous respect to you, Ma. Our main objective is to promote gender equality through music, encourage, support, and defend the rights and interests of female artists. The group is registered under the Gambia Women's Federation, Women's Bureau, and Musician Union of the Gambia. Collectively, NAFA aims to ensure the process of recording, producing, marketing, and promoting songs and videos of female musicians in order to attain their goals.
Mamadou Njai, GRTS.
The youth wing of the ruling Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction, under the stewardship of National Youth Mobilizer Babugay Sonko, Friday concluded a day-long National Youth Conference at the Badala Park Hotel. The convergence is anchored on, among other things, efforts to discuss the roles and responsibilities of members of the Youth League of the party and their effective participation in the country's political process, as well as the realization of the party's vision. The conference was presided over by the party's Secretary General, Balagaba Jahumpa. We hope to bring you details of that story in our subsequent news bulletins. The next operation, Clean the Nation, is slated for Saturday, 2nd April 2016. A news release from National Environment Agency states that, in this regard, all governors, Sefolu, Alkalolu, ward councillors, women organizations and government institutions are reminded that a strong presidential directive has been issued, requiring all of them to organize and fully participate in the next national cleanup exercise within their respective areas of jurisdiction. Consequently, the dispatch adds, there will be a mass inspection of premises, markets, areas of business, etc., by inspectors from NEA, Gambia Police Force and other stakeholders immediately after the exercise, and those found wanting will be prosecuted accordingly. We will be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Donald Trump says he's ready to bring his party together following talks with Republican leaders. But otherwise, we aren't hearing much from Trump following his latest controversial comments. CNN's Phil Martinley reports.
He's trying, Ivan, and for good reason right now. You have to look at this kind of through two pathways. The first is Donald Trump needs to figure out how to get the requisite delegates to secure the nomination. Now, there's 2,000 plus delegates in play. You need 1,237 to actually secure the nomination. Donald Trump is very aware of the fact that Ted Cruz is operating behind the scenes to try and undercut those efforts right now. So that was a primary reason he had that closed-door meeting with the Republican National Committee yesterday. But the other reason is, should Donald Trump secure that nomination, he's going to have to go into the general election with the support of the Republican Party, a Republican Party on the establishment side that is very uneasy about Donald Trump's future. Now, Donald Trump calling for unity. Donald Trump now trying to make nice with party leaders amid fallout from yet another political firestorm. Republican frontrunner in Washington for a meeting with the chairman of the Republican National Committee, Reince Priebus. Behind closed doors, sources say discussion focused on delegate rules ahead of the convention, just days after Trump and the other GOP hopefuls backed out of their pledge to support the nominee.
It was a very good meeting. We met with Reince Priebus and the staff, and they're very good people, actually a terrific meeting, I think, and it's really a unity meeting.
Trump also huddling with foreign policy advisors at the site of his new hotel for a 2-hour private meeting, as his comments on nuclear proliferation continue to rile American allies.
But if you say to Japan, yes, it's fine, you get nuclear weapons, South Korea, you as well, and Saudi Arabia says we want them too.
Can I be honest with you? It's going to happen anyway.
Trump's camp uncharacteristically quiet Thursday, one day after his abortion comments put the New York billionaire's campaign on the defensive.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion, yes or no, as a principle? The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah, there has to be some form.
His rivals seizing on the controversy, claiming forcefully that he's not qualified for the Oval Office.
And I have to tell you that as a commander-in-chief and leader of the free world, you don't get do-overs.
Ohio Governor John Kasich unleashing a pointed and specific attack on the frontrunner.
The abortion controversy, using nukes in the Middle East and in Europe, get rid of the Geneva Convention, getting rid of NATO, and having a Supreme Court justice who's going to investigate Hillary's emails. I don't even know what he's talking about there.
Ted Cruz sending out his wife, Heidi, and top surrogate, former presidential candidate Carly Fiorina, attempting to underscore Trump's continued difficulty with women voters.
He will be remembered as the giant of Germany's post-war history, a consummate Cold War warrior, architect of Ostpolitik, and a key player in bringing down the Berlin Wall and reshaping the rubble. Former Foreign Minister Hans-Dietrich Genscher has died at the age